first met Roger, I didn't quite know what to make of him. He was one of the people I saw on the street all the time. Always kind of looked like he was dressed out of, wasn't sure if he was doing maintenance work or maybe cleaned stores around. And I was dating someone who said, "Oh no, he's a singer." And we started talking one day, but I came to realize that he was well-educated and bright and articulate, but had a very small box that he lived in.
We went to San Francisco, then we left and came back to Worcester, and I ended up getting basically the custody of my two boys, who were 2.5 and 5 at the time, or 4.5 and 7, I think, at that point. And there were no single dads. Joint legal custody was a brand new thing. And I had to raise the kids by myself, which was very hard. And if I had to do it over again, I'd do almost every single thing differently. I could play a little of that song. Well, I'm not sure how it happened, and I don't know what I did, but I had a little divorce, and I got my kids. I got the kids. I got the kids. Give them breakfast, get them off to school. They don't look too good, but they're cool. Go to the PTA. Everyone wants to know if we're okay. I got the kids. Once you got them, oh, you got them. I got the...
Well, he's a storyteller. He looks at either his own life or the lives of those around him, from what I can tell, really just makes astute observations, not necessarily sweeping statements, but maybe little slices.
Right below me if I ever fall in love with you again. Had my sweetest lady, had my favorite car. Go for rides round.
I like to think of Roger as an artist that's still in a developing stage, but by shallowness or the marketability of today's industry, he might be considered a tad old. But I think a good song is a good song, and he has got some great songs.
You know, unfortunately, our business today is basically run by corporate America, which means that, it begins with the big record industries, and it also ties into the big corporations that own most of the radio stations in our country. I think there's an ongoing trend of having the same sort of radio station in one city as you'll find in the next. What's unfortunate about that is that it really sort of pushes out a lot of talented people such as Roger Salloom.
Roger was playing acoustical guitar, playing banjo, folk music, Pete Seeger, mostly other people's music. Somewhere along in high school, I noticed he began developing his own songs. His own personality began coming out into the music.
When I met Roger Salloom, I knew that he was going to help speak for me as the songwriters of those times did. I saw him at a party, and everyone was clustered around him.
Not so many years have passed in my life. I ain't got no children, I ain't got no wife. But already I know there's nothing to choose. There's no use in hoping I was born to lose. I am born to lose. Born.
He had a guitar, he was playing a guitar, and he was playing some of his songs. And his songs were amazing. They were truthful, they were weird, they were funny, and I thought, this guy is really unusual. I want to hang out with him.
So I think he had a little more of that rock and roll energy. I think he was breaking out of just being a folkie, which is what we had been, those of us who came a little bit before he did. And that's all partly a result of the change in times, because what Dylan was doing and so on, there was new directions, new paths that Dylan had broken. I think people were moving more in a rock direction and away from just being, acoustic solo performers.
It was in the late 60s. Well, there was a cactus drug, and I think I took the cactus drug. I remember this girl, Penny, and I were together, and then we were staying at Don's place, and at the morning I said to Don, I was just with Penny last night. She's a wonderful person. Would you like to stay with her tonight? Because it was free love, and, we weren't possessive. Honey all over our body, cactus in our veins, tossing around the bedroom, together again. Morning sunlight shining on the mattress, she sprawled on the floor. Gave her a nudge and asked her if I could go around once more. Love, 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 cactus love.
We flew to San Francisco, Roger and I, to meet with Saul.
And he wanted to sign us up. And while we were talking to him, he said, well, I have one other band with my label, Fantasy Records. I just signed them up, and they're called Creedence Clearwater. And Roger and I hadn't, well, of course, none of us had heard of Creedence Clearwater. And Saul said, they're an okay band, but they're not quite as good as you guys.
Roger, he's a character, he's a part of the community, he's a great musician. And I think that's a big part of his music, actually, is the fact that he's a real person, and that comes across in his vocals and also his writing, where, one of his big songs was Get Out of Worcester. He's originally from Worcester. And that just connected with people, not just because Worcester was kind of a down-and-out place, but just that it was local, it was a real place. Nobody sings about Worcester. It just would never even occur to people to sing about Worcester, except to Roger. And that's Roger. He's unique, he's funky, he's down to earth.
I met Roger in probably 1978, and there was a mutual acquaintance, a lady, I forget her name, but she had seen Roger, she knew me, she knew that I was involved in music business, and she said I should meet this man, I should hear him, he's worth hearing.
I went back to the Bay Area, and Creedence had broken up, but some of the remnants were around. Jake Rohr, who was the manager of Creedence, and Stu Cook, the bass player, and Robin Rohr, and Sheldon Bayalkin formed a confederacy of 4 guys who decided to sponsor me as a songwriter.
Well, it was sort of a partnership with Stu Cook, who was the bass player with Creedence, and myself, Roger. And when the Creedence thing had ended, and I'd been working with John Fogerty for 4 or 5 years, and then John and I parted ways, and Stu and I were always close. So, and neither one of us were doing anything musically. And Roger showed up, and I introduced him to Stu, and we embarked on a project, to make a demo and see if we could get somebody interested in him.
Driving down the road, riding in my car, going for a ride, I don't need to go too far. Got my girlfriend on my right, her baby boy. And they put me up. And they supported me for a couple years, paid my rent and bought me anything I wanted. And when I say anything, I mean anything. They treated me like a demigod. They were so good to me.
This is Roger looking at the world and questioning what he sees around him. And he's so funny, the way he relates to it, and there's an irony to how he delivers these things, But I don't know anybody with a bigger heart.